Speed may very well have no limit, for it's fueled by man's insatiable desire for more.
Then you can hit the exit into the transition.
While most are intrigued by the notion, some are driven to test its absolute edge.
I've spent my whole life trying to be fractions of a second faster going down a mountain.
The passion really starts with your friends, trying to be the fastest guy down.
For this elite few, the pursuit is governed only by the limits of technology, teamwork, and desire.
Ski racing is a really dangerous sport. You can be injured at the blink of an eye.
Before I start, I'm scared, and then as soon as I go out of the gate, it's like a totally different experience.
They practice, prepare, and sacrifice in pursuit of greatness. And while the unforgiving and ever-changing elements make perfection impossible, it also fuels their passion.
I put 6 hours in the gym every day in the summer, and it's all for the minute-long run that you get on the hill every other weekend.
They find calm in the midst of chaos, risking it all while pushing themselves towards glory.
I know the consequences, that's the last thing on my mind. I'm just thinking about going fast and how can I get to the bottom faster than everyone else?
It's a journey of evolution and progression, with the destination being the absolute limit of speed. In the heart of the Rocky Mountains, summer gives way to another changing of the seasons. Soon it will be winter and ski season in Vail, Colorado. But this year will undoubtedly be different in this world-renowned ski town, as Vail and Beaver Creek will play host to the FIS Alpine World Ski Championships.
The World Championships are really cool because they only happen once every 2 years, so it's a really big showcase for our sport. You know, it's great to be able to have those races under that kind of pressure and, you know, see what you're made of.
For generations, countless world-class skiers have called Vail home. With her 59 World Cup wins and 4 overall World Cup titles, none are more accomplished than ski racing legend Lindsey Vonn.
Having the World Championships back in Vail is huge, not just for Vail and the community, but also for skiing in the United States. It brings a lot of attention to our sport. It's going to have a huge impact, not just this year, but over the long term.
She's out getting a sneak peek at the new women's downhill course, where construction crews are hard at work on a large-scale overhaul, including a 10,000-seat finish area.
So this is going to be the men's course coming down and the women's course coming down, and they're both going to meet up in the finish. So we'll both have the same crowd cheering for us. It'll be cool. Normally Beaver Creek, I mean, it holds a decent amount of people, but not anything like it's going to for the World Championships. So to be coming down to the finish and hearing the crowd cheering for you is going to be pretty incredible, especially, you know, being at home.
Vail hosted the World Championships for the first time in 1989. Several spectacular jumps and high-speed stretches highlighted a new downhill course that was built for the men that year. The centerpiece was Rattlesnake Alley, a bobsled-like feature that racers navigated at speeds exceeding 70 miles per hour.
The '89 World Championships were really well run. They were all in Vail on what was called International at the time. It was right there in town, fantastic races, and it was a great event.
Vail Beaver Creek has an interesting history in the sport in hosting international racing. Vail was one of the original sites on the World Cup in the 1967 season. In the '89 World Championships, a good finish for Tamara McKinney, taking the gold in the combined and also bronze in the slalom, but the U.S. ski team shut out in 1999. Herman Meyer winning the gold in the speed events, the downhill and the Super G. Lasse Kjus from Norway picking up 5 medals, 2 gold and 3 silver, dominating those World Championships.
Having a guy like Lasse, who is one of my childhood heroes, just completely dominate there was really cool to watch.
I remember Marco Buchel and laissez-choose in the second run of the GS. Marco's technique was so weird back then, just super angulated, and no one thought he was going to do well, and he ended up getting a medal. And those world championships for both Lasse and Amont were incredible. Those images have stood in my mind. Hopefully I'll have a moment like that, you know, in these next world championships, and some other girl or boy will have that same experience.
One of the benefits of having the World Championships in Vail Beaver Creek is the opportunity to cut a new women's speed run. And the new Raptor course has gotten rave reviews. There was a World Cup test event on it a year ago to make sure that the entire world had a chance to experience it. Unfortunately, Lindsey Vonn was hurt, and she didn't get a chance to race on that course. She's walked it plenty of times, but she's not been on it on snow.
It's a very challenging hill. It's very steep, very turny, technical. Not a whole lot of flats, but a lot of terrain. 3/4 the way down, there's a left-footed turn with a lot of terrain in it that comes into a right-footed turn that kind of swings you out down to the flat part here that you can just barely see. And that seemed to be, from just watching video, where Laura Goot put all the time on everyone else, and she's the one that won that weekend. So that's going to be my goal, is to ski that particular section well and carry my speed down to the finish. It's going to be a challenge, especially, you know, coming off of 2 major knee surgeries. Is definitely not the most ideal for my body, but at the same time, I think just having the world champs at home is going to give me enough adrenaline and motivation to work through any pain I have.
Lindsey is very seasoned. She's very strategic, and she knows how to win. So if she's feeling good and healthy, she'll be a real contender. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Lindsey has had a roller coaster career marked by serious injuries and unparalleled success.
And there's been a lot of turning points in my career. I think the most impactful was when I crashed in the Torino Olympics in 2006. I went off the jump backwards and I almost broke my back. For me, I had always just expected to be a ski racer my whole life, and I didn't appreciate it as much as I should have. And that was really the first time that I realized that at any second I could be done. Not just in skiing, but in life. So from that point on, I really vowed to work as hard as I possibly could in every way that I could. Because without that, you know, I was just a punk kid who, you know, thought that I could do everything. And sometimes everyone, you know, needs a reality check every now and again.
By 2009, Lindsey had solidified herself as the best female skier in the world. Heading into the 2010 Olympic downhill, expectations were sky high.
That run was so on the limit. It was a little bit crazy and out of control, but I felt the speed. I felt like it was a fast run, and everyone saw when I, you know, crossed the finish line. It was just pure joy and excitement and relief at the same time. So it was definitely the most amazing experience of my career so far.
Lindsey Vonn joined the U.S. ski team in 2000 as a 16-year-old phenom. In the years since, she has won titles at every level by pushing herself and her equipment to the absolute limit.
And I guess it's kind of funny that I've spent my whole life trying to be fractions of a second faster going down a mountain on wooden planks. But that's just what I've always loved. You know, I love going fast. I love pushing myself to the limit. It's a very exciting challenge. I've really accomplished everything that I've wanted to accomplish in my career. You know, obviously now my goals are a little bit adjusted, and I really hope to break Anna Marie Moser-Pohl's record. But, you know, if I ended my career today, I would be happy. However, I still feel like I can do a lot more, and I'm gonna keep going until I feel like I can't.
In Search of Speed, The Road to Vail Beaver Creek 2015 is presented in part by Barilla, the choice of Italy, and Orda, Olympic Regional Development Authority. Produced by Jalbert Productions International and the United States Ski Team. For ski racers, every 4 years at the Winter Olympics and every 2 at the FIS Alpine World Ski Championships is an opportunity to etch their names in the history books. They are the marquee events of the sport in which a split second can mean the difference between becoming a legend or a forgotten memory.
Americans have this crazy knack of going into big events like the Olympics and World Championships and winning big. Athletes coming from the middle of nowhere, and that certainly is the case with the U.S. ski team. There's some classic examples throughout time. At the Olympics in 1984 in Sarajevo, Deb Armstrong coming from nowhere to win the giant slalom and get her mug on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Tommy Moe in the 1994 Olympics in Lillehammer. He had not won a World Cup race coming into that Olympics, but all of a sudden he stuns the world to win the gold medal on opening day. You gotta love a guy like Andrew Weibrecht in 2010. Nobody counted him in. There he was, picking up the bronze medal in Super G. 4 years go by, no results. He does it again, bumping it up to silver and knocking his teammate Bodie Miller down to bronze.
We have an amazing tradition of being the underdogs and coming out of the woodwork and winning. We get all kinds of quizzical looks from the Europeans. We seem to rise to the occasion. I mean, they're incredible, incredible performances, and we have a history of doing that. Maybe that's the American way. Maybe that's just something that just seems to magically happen. We don't know what it is, but we hope we capture it again this winter.
Andrew Weibrecht hails from Lake Placid, New York. While the Miracle on Ice once made this arena the center of the sports universe, today it's where Andrew prefers to do his dryland training. As a young skier, Weibrecht idolized American speed legend Darren Ralves.
It was a pretty memorable thing for me as a kid growing up ski racing to see 2001 victory in the Super G. It was such a cool run because it was ballsy. He skied such an aggressive line and executed it perfectly. I know Herman was leading and Darren came down and just totally spoiled the party on their home snow. It was super inspiring. We spend so much time kind of on the go, just always doing something or training or, whatever. It's just nice to kind of decompress and just get something that's, obviously beautiful spot, relaxing. I mean, I grew up on this lake, so that's super valuable for my sanity. I got the nickname Warhorse about 12 years ago, right when I first made the ski team. I was with all these older guys, and I basically, for a lot of years, I made up for my lack of experience and skill with just straight up intensity.
On the last day of November 2007, a young Andrew Weibrecht made his mark, charging to a 10th place finish on the Birds of Prey downhill in Beaver Creek.
It was kind of snowing, bad light. I was like slamming through gates. I was all over the place. And I came down, I was like, I just threw that away. And then I looked up at the time and I was like, wow, I guess it was better than I thought. And it was a super cool experience. It was a good lesson for me that, you just kind of keep on rolling no matter what you think. I tried to do that the whole rest of the season and it did not work out at all. Growing up here was pretty unbelievable. I credit my love for the outdoors and my love for skiing and all that to this town and to this area. Our town's, 1,500 people, something like that. And I think in this last Olympics, we had 10 local Olympians, which is pretty much unprecedented per capita.
In 1932, and again in 1980, this small town hosted the Winter Games. And while the Miracle on Ice will be forever etched in the history books, Phil Mayer's silver in slalom and Eric Heiden's 5 gold medals in speed skating were both performances for the ages.
Whiteface is kind of an awesome mountain in the sense that it's got a little bit of everything. It's got these ridiculously steep pitches, basically just free skied as kids. We hardly trained gates. Our parents would drop us off and me and my group of friends, we would just kind of go until it was time to be picked up.
When I first started coaching, all 3 boys, Andrew and his older brother John, his younger brother Ethan, they were at the mountain every afternoon. Andrew specifically was a pretty talented kid. The harder things he had to work on was controlling his emotions, and he's done a good job of that. When the bright lights come on, a lot of people crumble under that pressure. He's always been ready, no holding back.
Andrew is a unique individual. I mean, his career history is exceptional. watching what he did on Sochi, on that trail, on the upper part of that mountain, and then just cut a line that nobody else had done was absolutely stunning.
First of all, from Lake Placid, New York, a two-time Olympian, a member of 2 World Championship teams, please welcome Andrew Weibrecht. Stunning silver medal to go with the bronze he won 4 years earlier.
The Vail Beaver Creek, where we're doing it at home, so that's a huge part of it.
The search for speed can be a dangerous journey. Andrew's career had been marred by injuries in the years leading up to the 2014 Games, making his accomplishments even more remarkable. His determination and perseverance helped him overcome adversity to become a champion.
For me, it's been a tough couple of years in terms of that because it's been one thing after another, and I've never felt like I've been back to full speed. It's about a year and a half post any surgery or anything like that, so everything's kind of starting to come back together, and compared to the last 4 years, I feel great. Going into 2015, it's definitely on the front of all of our minds that this is our one shot to race a world champs or an Olympics on U.S. soil. It would just be incredible to win. I would be equally satisfied to go and know that I skied the best that I could.
On an unassuming street in the heart of Park City, Utah, lies the Center of Excellence, a state-of-the-art training facility for the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Association.
This facility was opened in May of 2009, and it's had a terrific effect on the preparation of the U.S. team and also the scientific basis of their preparation. It's like a Disneyland of training facilities and sports science labs, and the athletes are tested and monitored every day, and that's really enabled us to transform the way we prepare our athletes physically. The off-season preparation is really important to minimize the chance of injury. We're really trying to simulate some of the unusual positions that skiers get into when they're coming down the hill.
The ski team has definitely taken a step forward in conditioning, all that kind of stuff. I think especially, having the Center of Excellence. With myself and my dryland training, I've definitely, learned a lot over the years from the various trainers we've had, and I think that's been pretty successful for me.
At just 19 years old, Mikaela Shiffrin has quickly become one of America's brightest stars and accomplished racers. Under the radar, Mikaela made her FIS Alpine World Ski Championships debut 2 years ago in front of a raucous crowd.
The crowd in Schladming was unbelievable. There were, I think, 30,000 people in the stands, and it was not even nerve-wracking. It almost helped me calm my nerves, because I'm like, there are that many people in this world who want to watch me ski. I'm like, all right, this is gonna be fun. I'm gonna put on a show for them. Ski racing is such an insane sport because all we're trying to do is go faster. There's so much athleticism and guts involved, and if you're not on the edge, then you can pretty much know that you're not going fast.
Here's where she's got to handle the little bit of deviation down here where Reese had trouble.
And Shiffrin trying to get ahead of the Austrian Kurt Gasser at the end, and she's done it. 22/100, Shiffrin into the lead.
The 17-year-old sensation won World Championship gold and the spoils of celebrity that come with it.
After winning the medal, it was like a straight 12-hour tour of going to different media outlets and just, really exhausting. But it was very exciting too.
We were thrilled with her success. We had a feeling she could do it because every step of the way people were saying, wow, she's really fast.
Mikaela's meteoric rise to the top began in one of America's premier winter playgrounds.
Mikaela.
Well, I grew up in Vail. I was born in Vail, Colorado, and of course it's the most epic ski town you can imagine. So I grew up skiing, and it was kind of just a family recreation, fun sport. And my mom actually raced a little bit. So my brother started racing first, and then I followed in his footsteps, and that was actually when I really fell in love with the sport.
That's my performance.
Mikaela's doing her post-Olympics ice skating performance. We just always made sure we gave her the option of doing one of the other sports or doing something else. And every time we gave her the other option, she always said, I want to be a ski racer.
As a youngster, Mikaela found inspiration in one of Vail's most legendary residents, Lindsey Vonn.
Lindsey was my biggest idol when I started ski racing, and she had just come onto the World Cup, and I loved the way she skied, and I loved that she was feminine but also really powerful, and she has this way of, in the starting gate, of like staring lasers through the course.
After dominating junior events across the globe, the U.S. ski team came calling. Mikaela was just 15 at the time.
Probably the biggest thing that's contributed to my success is the support I get from my family. I've been really lucky with being able to have my mom come on the World Cup with me, which is a little bit unusual, but it's just the team that I have is also a huge reason why the success came soon, and it could have easily gone another way.
One of my biggest roles, I would say, is to help her stay focused and to help her limit distractions, try and keep things as normal as possible.
Off-season is kind of about getting refreshed and remotivated and also getting stronger. When I'm not at ski camps, I'm just working out 6 hours a day. At this point in my life, being 19 years old, if I were to take 2 weeks off of working out, I would lose a lot more strength than, say, Lindsey might, because she's been working out for 10 years longer than I am and is really strong and has built that base.
The challenges we see with a young athlete like Mikaela who bursts onto the World Cup scene are really interesting because it's really a race against time to get them up to the strength levels that we typically see in our World Cup races, where we know she can cope with the demands of the World Cup and we're minimizing the chance of her getting injured.
This summer, I got a new strength and conditioning coach. He's from Switzerland, and it's been really cool working with him. Our program is all-encompassing, the whole spectrum. Every single day we do a little bit of balance, a little bit of stability, a little bit of core, upper body strength, lower body strength. I don't really like entering races that I don't have a chance at winning, so I try to prepare myself in training so that I always know I have a chance when I'm in the start.
At the 2014 Sochi Games, 18-year-old Mikaela Shiffrin shocked the ski world, becoming the youngest slalom champion in Olympic history. Going into this World Cup season, Shiffrin is the reigning Olympic, World Cup, and world champion in slalom. Despite her success, the young American is undoubtedly hungry for more.
Right now, I'm starting to think more about how I can keep up my slalom and hopefully get to that top step in GS, and then maybe I might even add a couple Super Gs here and there this season. I'm so excited to have World Championships at Vail Beaver Creek because I live pretty much at the base of that road that takes you up to the mountain. In some ways, it's a huge advantage that I can sleep at home, sleep in my own bed, take a shower in my own shower, cook my own food. Hopefully I'll be able to take that energy and use that to propel me down the mountain.
Every day, somewhere in the world, chairlifts are running across snow-covered mountains. It's September in South America, and the U.S. men's alpine ski team has traveled 6,000 miles in search of the perfect conditions to continue preparation for the upcoming World Cup season.
How was that first run?
Solid, man. It's windy, but it's good.
We're in Caracas, Chile for our annual speed trip to Southern Hemisphere. Typically we go to Portillo. It's been a great place for us year after year. Unfortunately this year they didn't get as much snow as they normally do. So we came down, looked for a different venue, found Caracas, this great place, huge mountain, tremendous potential here.
We've actually had great training. Normally this is a camp we do a little bit further north in Chile. This is a place we've never been, and it's been great. We've got a huge variety of training. There's a lot of different hills. We've been mainly focusing on downhill and Super G when the weather cooperates, and supplement GS in there when it's not quite as nice out.
We're waking up really early. The coaches love getting on the hill before the sun rises, so
We wake up at 5:30, whatever, go have some breakfast, leave for the hill. And usually our first ride up, it's before the sun rises. So we get to catch the sunrise on the way up, which is kind of cool. It's kind of nice being up there all alone. No public is on the hill yet. And then after that, we have our training session. It's pretty intense normally. We do anywhere between 5 to 10 runs of downhill or Super G, whatever we're doing that day. And then after that, we head back and have some lunch, unwind for a bit, and then we go do dryland training. It's like the second session of the day. And then we go do a core workout, and then some stretching, and then physical therapy, and then video with the coaches to go over the day, and then dinner, and then go to bed and do it all over again.
This camp, we had one great week when we first got here, really good training for about 5-6 days. And then a big weather front just moved in. The weather's not always perfect, you know, so we chase the snow around the world, so we got to expect there's going to be some days that are going to be pretty blustery. We're ski racers, you know, we're used to battling the elements.
You know, this is the struggle. This is the pursuit of perfection in the hardest conditions we've ever faced.
We're in an outdoor sport, and it can happen in races too. So sometimes it's not a bad thing to deal with bad weather and train in it.
Weather and snow conditions are just two variables that can affect a racer's speed. Equipment is another.
Every day I train, I have a bunch of pairs of skis that you can see behind me. Those are most of my skis, and there's a lot of different things we can test with the bindings and also with the boots.
The factory will throw out a new ski that's got a little bit wider tail and skinnier tip, and maybe it's thicker, and they use a different kind of wood or something. All that stuff is just little things that might make us a tenth faster on the downhill course.
I'm always working on my aerodynamics and tactics. We're always doing that every day we train. Our coaches set a challenging course, and we have to figure it out.
Some guys of note that really stepped up. I thought Steven Nyman, he's skiing with a much better balanced position. He's got tremendous upper body stability, which is something that we've been trying to get him to do for years.
It's kind of funny being the old guy. It's kind of me and Marco and Bodie and Ted. We've been around for a while, but there's the young guys that are coming up, and it's nice having these young guys around because they're all fired up, and I can feed off of their energy. It's a unique scenario because we're a team, we're a family, we travel together, we're best buds, but we also need to have that competition. I root for them, but I also want to beat them.
We're kind of building off of a pretty successful year last year. We had a lot of guys that skied well, and I think, you know, really it's building bigger and stronger and faster.
And now, everyone has their skis pointed toward the upcoming FIS Alpine World Ski Championships.
World Championships at Vail is going to be amazing. That hill is just incredible. Birds of Prey is world class and one of the best. I am really psyched that it's at home.
We've raced on the Birds of Prey a bunch of times. I mean, I've been racing there since 2004, basically, so a long, long time. For speed, it's really second to none. I mean, it's one of the most fun tracks out there, and Giant Slalom, it's a great hill as well. A hill I've had a lot of success on, and then, you know, slalom, we've had some races there. My first podium in the World Cup was in a slalom in Beaver Creek, so it holds a lot of good memories for me.
It's been a successful speed session in South America, and with training behind them, it's time for the U.S. men's alpine ski team to pack their bags and head to Europe for the beginning of the World Cup season. Once in a generation, an athlete of unparalleled talent can change a sport. Julia Mancuso has done just that, winning 4 Olympic medals, the most of any American woman in ski racing history. It's the end of September in Saas-Fee, Switzerland, where Julia and the U.S. women's alpine speed team are deep into dryland training. Although summer-like at the mountain's 5,900-foot base elevation, another 6,000 feet above town, the glacier is open for skiing.
It's
very impressive to come over here to the glaciers. We normally come in October when it's starting to be winter again, but this feels kind of like the end of summer, and it's still really nice in the village, and we get to get up there and get a lot of good runs in, and we've had a lot of great turns so far. It's a really interesting dynamic being in an individual sport, but we travel together as a team. We spend more time with each other than we do with our families or significant others. So we really rely on each other for support and for fun on the road. I mean, we're out here months and months at a time, and we get to spend a lot of time in the hotels.
As dawn breaks on the mountain summit, the team continues its preparation for the upcoming World Cup season. To make their championship dreams a reality, a racer must have the support of teammates, coaches, and ski technicians.
You can't do it alone. It's such a difficult sport, especially when it comes to downhill. We have downhills that are a couple miles long, really, and you have to have support staff on the hill to make sure that it's safe, and being able to train with a team and push each other, it just makes us all better. When someone's skiing faster, you know, you want to train faster and you want to be fast just like them. So we're constantly just raising the bar and pushing each other to go faster. There's a lot of video analysis. We watch our video and we kind of learn different things. We train different distances between the gates. So when it comes to race, you can look at the course and be like, oh, this is like that one day we trained. The gates were set this many meters apart, and this is how I need to ski it. Having someone come down the course.
Yeah, we'd like, whoa, what's happening here?
Julia is one of just a handful of skiers that competes in all 5 disciplines. She first joined the U.S. ski team in 1999 at just 15 years of age. After a slow start to her World Cup career, Mancuso made a huge leap in 2005, winning 2 bronze medals at the World Championships. In 2007, Julia added silver at the Worlds to her collection.
My most memorable race of finding the perfect line was winning the gold medal in Trino in giant slalom. Winning the first run was the first time I ever won a run in World Cup, and I knew I still had to push it second run. I looked at the girls behind me and they were right on my heels. That was the one moment where I really had to trust and believe.
She has so much natural talent and athletic ability. I think she could be successful in whatever she wanted to be successful in, but she just happened to choose skiing, and it's really awesome to have somebody that naturally talented out there.
She comes from a season where she won again a medal at the Olympics, so she is for sure a big event athlete. She worked really hard this spring and this summer, and she has some good basement now to build up a good season.
My goals this season are to definitely get back to where I was the seasons before last. I really want to see all of my disciplines back in the top 10, being in there for a podium every time I leave the start gate, and for sure fighting for a Globe and Super G again.
In the 1980s, the U.S. ski team was in search of recognition on the world stage.
You know, it was an interesting period in the early 80s for the U.S. ski team, coming off just 1 medal in Lake Placid and going into the World Championships at Schladming, Austria 2 years later. What a bonanza it was for the U.S. ski team under Alpine director Bill Marolt. 5 medals, a record up until that point, including a gold medal by Steve Mayer in the giant slalom and 3 medals from Kristen Cooper and another one in the downhill from Cindy Nelson.
The Americans found sporadic success during the decade, but were not known as a powerhouse in the speed events. In the mid-1990s, that changed.
Peekaboo Street and Hillary Lind were 2 great ski racers who came along just at the same time, very similar to Julie Mancuso and Lindsey Vonn. In '96 in Sierra Nevada, Peekaboo Street picking up the gold medal in the downhill.
I just kind of got on a roll, and it was almost an addiction after a while. It was like, I'm gonna win, and that's all there is to it.
Then a year later, her teammate winning in Sestriere.
I think there's a new respect for us, yeah, for sure. And it's just killing the Europeans that we're beating them in downhill. It's a dream come true, and I'm really happy.
And if you look back in history, actually, over that time span, the U.S. has won a medal in the speed events at World Championships in 9 out of the last 10 World Championships.
The new millennium ushered in an era of unprecedented accomplishment by the United States in World Championship competition.
It was a real breakthrough in 2003 at Samoritz for the U.S. team with 6 medals. And then we moved up to 2005, and all of a sudden it was that battle between Lindsey Vonn and Julia Mancuso, and it was Julia who really stepped to the forefront. That changed in 2007 in RA Sweden when Lindsey Vonn started to have her coming out.
On the men's side, Bodie Miller and Ted Ligety have each earned 4 gold medals, becoming superstars of the sport.
Bodie is my favorite ski racer of all time. I don't think anybody's ever gonna take Bodie's place, and that he's just like in a league of his own. But I watch Ted's GS skiing all the time. Ted's been able to be the king of GS for so long and really did create a new style of skiing, and I think everybody's watching that.
What's fast in ski racing is creating extreme angles. You look at Ted Ligety and his skis, you're wondering how does he even get them back underneath him? And you know, Bodie's just like crazy out of control on these runs where you're like, how is he gonna pull it off? It's controlled chaos. And the thing is like, that's what's fast.
Success can be a catalyst for success, and the future for the U.S. ski team is a bright one.
So that run we've had with 25 World Championship medals from 10 different individuals over the course of a decade, that's the kind of momentum that we take into Vail Beaver Creek.
It's really awesome to have World Championships on American soil, put the Europeans in their place. They're used to being on their home mountains, and it's a really big event that we get to host and show them that ski racing is also really fun and awesome, and the big events can be huge in America as well.
The FIS Alpine World Ski Championships will return to Vail Beaver Creek in February 2015. Tens of thousands of visitors will be on hand to cheer for America's top skiers as they race for glory against the best in the world.
World Champs is in Vail Beaver Creek this year. I'm really fired up for it, and to have it on home turf, it's super cool, and I've had a lot of success on that hill.
The Birds of Prey downhill course has been a staple of the men's downhill circuit since 1997 and is widely considered one of the most challenging in the world.
Birds of Prey had some amazing days there. I've been taken out on that course, like, you know, big injuries and stuff, so it's a lot of mixed emotions there, but it's a great track. You start out like 20 seconds, you're just pretty much in your tuck, just getting the feel of your skis, but it's really flat and mellow. Then all of a sudden, like, you come around this big right foot turn and you're just looking out over the Colorado skyline, and then, you know, just like drops off. That's the brink.
Once we come off to the drop-off, the downhill really starts off, and it starts off very quickly in a very technical, difficult, turny section. We have about 8 following big turns, which, if you make a big mistake there, you can not only lose the race, but you can make also a bad fall. The whole way down there, you're gonna fight against being too far away from your line.
After the big turns, it starts opening up and you just start nuking, and you want to carry all the speed you can into that speed section and onto the upcoming flats, and that's where the big jumps come in. You hit Screeching Owl, then you're on the flats for about 8-10 seconds, and you hit Golden Eagle where you're soaring. You'll go through the abyss. Then you come out of the abyss and you come into Harrier, and it'll drift you out to the side. You gotta land on your edge and bring it back over into another compression, then off the final jump into the finish.
From where you take off to where you land, it's like 70, 80 yards off the last jump. That's almost the length of a football field.
Birds of Prey was christened in December of 1997, with Christian Guedina of Italy posting the top time.
I think Birds of Prey is the most beautiful gift we can have for skiing. It has everything what a new downhill, a modern downhill should have. And we saw the results from the racers. They like it. And also, I think you have to give a certain chance to the mountain. And we have seen it in the races in Birds of Prey that the mountain sometimes won. So I think the racers, they have to learn where the limit is.
The Austrian ski team pushed the limit and proceeded to dominate the podium in Beaver Creek. The legendary Hermann Maier, who won the downhill and Super G events 3 years in a row, led the way.
It was quite a battle between the U.S. ski team and the Austrians in the early 2000s. Maier winning 6 World Cups there over the years. But it was finally that breakthrough event in 2004 when Bode Miller won and Darren Rolfs was second, and all of a sudden that Austrian dominance on Birds of Prey, it snapped.
Darren and I have just waited for this for a long time. We both work really hard, we both do our own thing, but when it comes time to race, we want to win. And you know, to be 1-2, you know, ahead of everybody on home turf, you know, it's just awesome.
Could that ever happen again? A year later, same course, Birds of Prey in 2005, flipped it. Darren Rolfs took the win, Bode Miller was second.
Downhill is what it's all about, and I put so much pressure on myself to step up and make it happen, tactically and aggressively, and just I wasn't giving anything up.
The Austrians always consider themselves the guys to beat, but I think Darren and I have kind of established now that here we're the guys to beat. That's fun.
And then to keep the string going, the next year, Bode wins again. Steven Nyman moves up to third. And then in 2007, Nyman takes second in the downhill at Birds of Prey.
I skied the line I wanted to ski. I executed like I wanted to, and I'm just stoked to perform like this in front of the home crowd.
In December 2011, Bode Miller tied Hermann Maier's record of 3 downhill wins on the Birds of Prey course. Since its creation, the Birds of Prey course has also played host to World Cup slalom and giant slalom events. The United States ski team has found success in these showcases of technical skill as well. In December 2005, Bode and Darren finished first and second in the giant slalom, one day after their 1-2 finish in the downhill. And in the slalom a few days later, a young Ted Ligety reached a World Cup podium for the first time in his career. Since then, he has become a superstar, and remarkably, he has won the giant slalom in Beaver Creek the past 4 years.
One of the international athletes to watch at the World Championships in Vail, Beaver Creek will be Austria's Marcel Hirscher. Here's a guy who's won the overall Audi FIS World Cup title the last 3 years, but he only has 2 World Championship medals to his credit. You can be sure the Austrians are going to be loaded for bear after Ted Ligety took 3 gold medals out of Schladming, Austria 2 years ago.
It's a search for the fine line between terror and certainty that defines the men and women of the United States Alpine Ski Team. And with the intense training behind them and their equipment tuned for maximum speed, they have their sights set on another successful season. The stage is set for the Americans to square off against the Europeans at the FIS Alpine World Ski Championships. In search of speed, the Road to Vail Beaver Creek 2015 was presented in part by Barilla, the choice of Italy, and by Orda, Olympic Regional Development Authority, and by Corbel, Toast Life. Produced by Jalbert Productions International and the United States Ski Team. All rights reserved.